What if a single thought could literally turn into a fortune? I know, it sounds kind of like magic, right? But honestly, it's a question that's been driving human ambition for centuries.
That exact question is what led Napoleon Hill to study 500 of the world's most successful millionaires, just to uncover the actual architecture of achievement. And guess what? What he found wasn't just blind luck. He uncovered 13 concrete steps that anyone, and I mean anyone, can follow to achieve success. Today, we're exploring this proven playbook. But hey, fair warning right up front. You gotta stick with me until the very end, because if you don't conquer the final lesson, this entire system completely collapses.
Welcome to BookPilot, your destination for powerful ideas from the world's most impactful books. Today, we are breaking down Napoleon Hill's legendary masterpiece, Think and Grow Rich. We're taking this famous philosophy and transforming it into a structured, actionable audiobook summary and explainer. We'll give you the roadmap you actually need. So, let's just dive right into it.
Here's how we're breaking this down today. First, the foundation of success. 2, formulating your plan. 3, the power to push. 4, upper levels of mind. And 5, conquering those ghosts of fear.
All right, let's kick things off with Phase 1, the foundation of success. You see, every great achievement starts internally. It's built on an absolutely unshakable mindset and a crystal-clear desire. Take Edwin C. Barnes, for example. The guy had literally zero money, no connections, and no special skills. But what he did have was this burning desire to become Thomas Edison's business partner. He couldn't even afford a train ticket. So he literally hops on a freight train to New Jersey, walks right into Edison's office, and just asks for a chance. Edison gave him a super low-level job, and Barnes waited for years. Finally, Edison needed someone to sell a brand new dictating machine. Barnes seized the opportunity, absolutely crushed the sales, and earned that exact partnership he'd been picturing. It wasn't just some vague wish, guys. It was a burning desire.
So how do we actually build that kind of Barnes-level desire? Well, Hill gives us a really actionable step-by-step formula to turn that vague wish into concrete results. First, pick your exact target, like down to the dollar if it's money. Second, decide the exact price you're going to pay for it in time, skill, or value. Third, set a hard deadline, because without a date, it's just a wish, right? Fourth, write out a clear plan and start today. Even if it's messy, just start. And finally, read this statement out loud every single morning and night, really picturing yourself already living it.
Now, the whole mechanism behind reading that statement twice a day is this concept called autosuggestion. Basically, it means feeding your subconscious mind with thoughts, images, and emotions until your mind just accepts them as absolute reality. Your subconscious doesn't sit there and argue with you about whether something is true or false, it just absorbs whatever you repeat. By locking this in, belief and faith literally become your default operating system.
And if you want a perfect, modern example of autosuggestion, look no further than Jim Carrey. Back in the early 90s, he was completely broke and struggling. But he programmed his mind for the future he wanted. He actually wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered, dated it 5 years ahead, and kept it right in his wallet. He visualized cashing it every single day. And get this, almost exactly 5 years later, he landed his role in Dumb and Dumber for a paycheck of exactly $10 million. That is the raw power of consistent emotional visualization.
Moving right along to Phase 2, formulating your plan.
Okay, so now it's time to transform that internal belief into a real external roadmap. The first part of any great plan is getting the right knowledge. But we really need to distinguish between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. General knowledge is literally everywhere, books, the internet, but on its own, it's not going to build you wealth. Specialized knowledge, on the other hand, is all about targeted skills aimed directly at a definite goal. Think about Henry Ford. Once a newspaper called him uneducated, so he sued them. He told the opposing lawyer that if he ever needed an answer, he had a row of electric push buttons on his desk to just summon his experts. Ford didn't need to know everything himself. He just needed to intelligently organize that specialized knowledge. And once you have that knowledge, you need imagination to actually pave the road. Look at this famous origin story. Back in 2007, 2 totally broke roommates in San Francisco couldn't even pay their rent. Hotels in the city were completely sold out for a conference, so they threw 3 air mattresses on their living room floor and offered people breakfast. That is what Hill calls synthetic imagination. It's taking existing concepts like short-term stays and the internet and combining them in a totally new way. Today, that little air mattress experiment is Airbnb, a company worth billions. So I want you to really think about this for a second. What is the air mattress idea in your life right now?
What's that small, maybe kind of imperfect concept you're sitting on that could grow into something absolutely massive if you just applied a bit of organized planning to it today? Don't just let your knowledge sit there dormant. Use it.
And that brings us perfectly into phase 3, the power to push.
This phase is all about resilience and the quick decision-making you're going to need when that inevitable friction hits. Check this out. In 1914, Henry Ford totally shocked the business world. He instantly doubled his factory workers' wages to $5 a day. The experts swore it was going to bankrupt him, but Ford didn't even flinch. He made the decision fast and he held the line. And what happened? Turnover collapsed, productivity skyrocketed, and suddenly his workers could actually afford to buy the cars they were building. Successful people make decisions very quickly and they change them very slowly. Procrastination, that is literally the ultimate momentum killer.
To keep that persistence going, Hill identified 8 key drivers, everything from a burning desire to crystal clear habits. You know the tragic story of the Darby family during the gold rush, right? They found a solid vein of gold, but the second it disappeared, they just threw in the towel and sold all their equipment to a junk dealer. Well, that dealer hired an engineer who realized the Darbys had stopped digging literally just 3 feet from the absolute richest part of the mine. The lesson here? Never, ever quit just when the compounding is about to start.
But here's the thing. Persistence gets a whole lot easier when you aren't fighting the battle alone. Look at the Wright brothers. They had no wealth, no fancy university degrees. The press absolutely mocked them. But they had this incredible mastermind advantage, a deeply shared optimism and an aligned purpose. When one brother got discouraged, the others stayed intensely optimistic. When you link your mind with a few aligned people, it's like you create this third, invisible force. Your overall horsepower simply jumps.
All right, let's move on to phase 4, upper levels of mind.
Now, this is where things get really fascinating. We're exploring those advanced psychological states that attract truly incredible opportunities. One concept Hill introduces is sex transmutation. Now, don't let the term throw you off. It's really just about channeling raw, highly charged energy. Think about Muhammad Ali preparing for the rumble in the jungle against George Foreman. Ali cut out literally all distractions. He poured every single ounce of his physical and emotional energy into one single purpose. He took one of the strongest human forces out there and redirected it into this unstoppable ambition and sustained effort. And obviously, it led to a legendary victory.
And having that intense emotional charge is exactly what programs your subconscious mind. Take Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps. He wouldn't just visualize a perfect race. He'd visualize every tiny detail, including potential nightmares like his goggles filling up with water. So when that exact thing actually happened at the Beijing Olympics, he didn't even panic. His subconscious just took over, he counted his strokes blindly, and he won the gold. By consistently programming your mind like that, you're preparing yourself to trust your intuition, what Hill calls your sixth sense, when it matters the absolute most.
And now, we arrive at our final stage, phase 5, conquering ghosts of fear. Listen, this is arguably the most critical section of this whole explainer. Because if you don't clear this ultimate obstacle, all those previous 12 steps we just talked about, they can be completely destroyed. Hill identifies 6 silent ghosts of fear: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. And here's the scary part. These ghosts don't shout at you. They whisper. They try to convince you to just wait for the perfect time, they nudge you toward the safe path, and they tell you to lower your expectations you won't be disappointed. They literally quietly kill your dreams before they're even born.
But here is the stark, honest truth. Fear is a liar. If you let it take control, your desire's gonna fade, your plans will just stay stuck on paper, and spoiler alert, that perfect time never actually arrives. The people you admire most in history, they absolutely did not wait for permission or perfect timing. They took massive action while those ghosts of fear were still right there, whispering in their ears.
To wrap up our key takeaways today, define your burning desire, build a specialized plan, push through the friction, and never let the ghosts of fear whisper you into a corner. This entire philosophy isn't just about money, it's about building the exact life you truly desire. Burn the ships, decide what you want, and start right now with what you have. If you enjoyed this audiobook summary and want to discover more powerful ideas from great books, subscribe to BookPilot and stay tuned for more. So I'll leave you with this final, most important question. Will you let fear run your life forever, or are you finally ready to take that very first step?